This video is for the remembering of my brother OJ. How I know my brother, it was in one of Moses, solitary confinements that I never would thought up into 28, when I was 28, incarcerated. Now, I met OJ at High Desert State Prison. And how I met my brother, was I seen him and I acknowledged him and I said, OJ. He turned around. He said, what good with you, my brother? I'm a big fan of you, OJ, man. And right then and there, I had a couple of words and, OJ is a brother that he really, if he knew people, because people came, and see, he had the respect because of his name. But OJ, there was a time OJ told me that if you're doing a lesser bid, do your time. Because I remember he was talking about, it was giving him a harsh sentence, a 9 to 33 sentence. And see, that's the Nevada laws. So first thing you'd be like saying, how much time I'm doing on a 9 to 33 sentence. So, it came a time that I know OJ, he wanted to do his time. And if you need something from OJ, he's quick to give you anything you need. But I knew OJ, he wanted to transfer from High Desert. Because High Desert, when I first touched down there, man, there's a lot of people. It's like once you get in the prison system, a lot of people look at you. It's like you're a fish. And they ask questions and, in the prison, there's a lot of men and men is like women. So I I can relate why OJ wanted to transfer. And see, when OJ was at Lovelock, I'm like, man, I need to get somewhere where I can just do the rest of my sentence. So yeah, when I got transferred, and I noticed that, it's all about, your points now. It's, if your points ain't high, if you ain't got to write up in so many months, So I know my points was high to a point. Then I have to like find a way to bring these points down. And at one point, I was in an investigation of a riot that took place that I just didn't really had nothing to do with it. So, I remember, man, COs, S&E came, snatched me, man. I was in this investigation. And make a long story short, they put me in a hole. I was in a hole for about 3 months. Next thing you know, I talked to one of the sergeants. They told me, yeah, you're going to see a caseworker, and the caseworker came. That's when I knew I was transferred to go to Lovelock. Now, I met, OJ. And a lot of people that knew OJ, like, man, OJ, man, he picked up some weight, And, OJ was, at one point when I seen OJ, he was, I say about 61. and he was about 300 pounds. But saying all this, OJ is a good brother. I remember we started up a tournament and we had the gym, man. Like you in Lovelock, it's like considered low custody. You know what I mean? The COs, you want, you know what I mean? If you want to say they more linguist in, you know what I mean, low custody yard, sometimes they can be strict. But we had nights where it was hamburger nights, when it was eating a lasagna night. People wanted the lasagna, so there was a couple of fellas. We'll double back, you know, on night. So there was a day that we went back, you know what I mean, and OJ was at the culinary, and I remember we all lined up for chow. They called A side. So we get to the culinary, and you know what I mean, a couple of people was already double dipping. I remember I was sitting at the table. I remember some brothers came up to the table, like, "Hey man, you guess what, man? You want to imagine they have OJ on TMZ stealing cookies." And they're like, yeah, they finna show at 4:30 on TMZ. But mind you, sometimes people catch the TMZ early. You know what I mean? You can catch it at 3 o'clock. So yeah, man, that was a workout that OJ was in a culinary already still cooking. I knew OJ working in a culinary, but once I, you know what I mean, turned to TMZ and seen it myself, I'm like, wow. You know what I mean? That's how I remember my brother. That's the one of moments that I have with my brother. Cause I remember they was all passing out cookies. I remember seeing OJ passing out the cookies, and I'm like, wait a minute. When they came and told me, I was like, man, let me go back. And went back and seen that, and you know, nothing happened. OJ they didn't even take him to the hole. All they did was just kick them out the culinary. But that's a moment that I have with my brother, you know, and I want to say you're gonna always be remembered. I will always love you, OJ, and you know, rest in peace, rest in heaven. You'll be remembered. I love you from the bottom of my heart, man.